Okay, listen, this song can be interpreted as a love song. I am personally not interpreting it as a love song. If a love is pure and healthy, should it give you metaphorical cavities? No, it should make you healthier. There is a mismatch of some sort in this song. There's many different forms of sin, but he was participating in at least one of them. I'm sorry if I'm ruining this song for you, but this is not cute to me. This is concerning. Like logistically, like what is going on here, Hozier? Hi everyone, welcome to this video. On my channel, I analyze song lyrics very in depth through the lens of literary analysis. Today we are analyzing a song by an artist who is new to this channel. You all have been requesting him for a while. We're doing the song Work Song by Hozier. For those of you who read the community section of this YouTube channel or who follow me on my Instagram, this was the very eloquent clue that I gave for this song. The clue for this song was a song about like jobs. I mean, look at the diction in this clue. Look at the placement of that comma. Look at the double question mark. The double question mark is really significant. So if you haven't subscribed yet or followed me on my Instagram, like if this doesn't convince you, like literally nothing will. You're welcome. As a quick disclaimer, everything discussed in this video is just my own personal opinion. Music is very subjective. Everyone's gonna have their own take on it, and I always encourage you all to leave your perspective down below in the comments. I personally value words a lot, so I tend to concentrate on diction, which is word choice, and connotation, which can be thought of as the vibes or the emotions that the words elicit. All right, let's begin. According to Wikipedia, a work song is a piece of music closely connected to a form of work, either sung while conducting a task, usually to coordinate timing, or a song linked to a task, which might be a connected narrative. Simply put, a work song is sung by workers with a rhythm like that of their work. When we listen to the song, we can definitely see the work song elements being played out. It does have a very distinct rhythm, and I think of someone performing a repetitive sort of work, a very physical sort of labor. From the song title, I'm assuming that the protagonist of this song, protagonist means the main character, is a worker, and he is either thinking about the contents of this song or stating them out loud to his co-workers while in the midst of working. When we think about this sort of work, it can be very hard on the body, it can be very tiring. Those are the sorts of things that I'm envisioning as kind of like the underlying plot of this song. Now, some of you may be wondering, is the melody of this song the only reason that it's called work song? This really does depend on your perspective. When you have someone performing very labor-intensive and repetitive work like this, it can become very tiring, both mentally and physically. To me, it's interesting that he is getting through his workday by singing a work song about his love. Talking about his love, discussing his love story to his coworkers, that's something that's allowing him to get through this very labor-intensive workday. So that to me shows the value that the protagonist of this song places on the love, because that's how healing, that's how nourishing this love is for him. I would love to know what you think of this song title and how you interpret it, so make sure to leave me a comment down below. Verse 1. The lyric "boys working on empty" could mean a few different things. So the boys, I believe, are referring to the protagonist's fellow co-workers. The diction here, the word empty, to me is significant. Workers here can be working on like an empty energy tank. They may be tired. This is labor-intensive work. They could be empty from like an energy standpoint. Their bodies are tired. Or you can think about this a little bit more metaphorically. The word empty suggests that there is a lack of some sort. So these workers could be feeling empty spiritually or emotionally as well. You can interpret it in either way. I personally tend to interpret things pretty metaphorically. Whenever you are lacking in anything, when you're empty, it can make living your life more difficult. For example, if you're, empty on energy, it's gonna make doing physical labor more difficult. But if you're empty emotionally or spiritually, it's gonna make your internal world a little bit more difficult to navigate. And that can kind of permeate into other aspects of your life. Your internal state is very, very important. It's like the foundation of who you are. So it's going to affect everything. It's going to affect your work life. It's going to affect your relationship. It's going to affect how you view yourself, your internal world. If anything is empty, if anything is lacking, that's not good. So I'm already getting some concerning vibes. Is that the kind of way to face the burning heat? Again, we can view this more literal or more figurative. The burning heat could be referring to the place that they're working, or it could be the weather. They're working outside, so they're trying to make it through their workday, feeling very tired and having to face the heat, the elements. I'm more partial towards the metaphorical interpretation of this. I would be interested to know what you think, so make sure to comment it down below. When I think about burning heat, I think about a metaphorical sort of heat. I talk about fire imagery a lot on this channel. A lot of songs have fire imagery. What can I say? For example, in the song Wildflower Wildfire by Lana Del Rey, and the song Ivy by Taylor Swift, Buzzcut Season by Lorde. All of those songs have fire imagery, so I will link those down below. They all kind of play out differently, so it's really interesting. Why I bring up fire imagery is because of the word burning. The word burning kind of brings forth an image of a fire. Fire and, heat in general, it can be life-sustaining because you need heat to be able to live and to survive. However, in some instances, it's the opposite. It can be very harmful. That's the sense I get here, that this burning heat, whether it be from, the place they're working or from the weather, it is not a life-sustaining sort of heat. It is a harmful sort of heat. There's a qualifier in front of the word heat, the word burning. It's kind of amplifying how hot it is. More dangerous than you think. It's more draining than you think. If you want to view heat more metaphorically, these could be things in life that can kind of burn through you. Perhaps like temptations, like sin in general, or maybe less dramatically, thought processes that are not serving you, habits that are not serving you, those can burn through you as well. So there's a lot of different ways to think about burning heat, but whatever it is, I personally don't think it's positive, because we have people here who are like emotionally and spiritually empty, and there's like burning heat around them that can overtake them. So there's a lot going on. Again, when you're empty, you have less resources to battle things. So I'm definitely getting a lot of ominous vibes from the first two lines of this song. I just think about my baby. I'm so full of love, I could barely eat. So the protagonist is thinking about their baby, about their love. That's what is sustaining them. That's what is kind of keeping them back from the burning heat. It's what's helping them survive through the ominous vibes in the first two lines. Protagonist is saying that they're so in love with this other person that they do not need food to survive. They are being fully nourished by the love that they feel. Okay, listen. This song can be interpreted as a love song. I am personally not interpreting it as a love song because there's a lot of ominous diction in this song, a lot of instability, and there's like a disturbing image later on, which I'm just like, this can't be like pure love because there's too many like ominous undertones. There's like a little bit of unbalance present. But I do want to say that's just my own personal interpretation. If you want to interpret this as a love song, please feel free. I think you can make an argument for that, but it's not illustrating love in like a pure way, in my opinion. There's destructive stuff going on here, and I will of course explain that as we move forward. I'm not criticizing the writing. I think the writing here is very beautiful and it's sung very beautifully, but it's just the plot of this song is like, I'm like, OMG, there's things happening. I understand that the purpose of this line is to illustrate how nourishing and like nutritious and complete this love is. That's why they don't need food. I think that alone, that's a very beautiful sentiment. It is illustrating the strength of the love that this protagonist has. However, as we get through the lyrics, there's going to be a progression of the effects of this love. From this, I gather that the protagonist is in love very deeply with someone, and they really rely on that love to nourish them. They're being nourished spiritually and emotionally by this love. They're being nourished by it instead of being nourished by food. They're so full of love, they could barely eat. So the love is taking up the entirety of the space in the protagonist. Perhaps the protagonist was completely empty before they found this love, so now they're filling themselves up to the brim with love. However, that sounds unbalanced, and kind of codependent as well. Again, this is just my own personal opinion. I personally believe when it comes to love that you need to be like a full person before you allow someone else into your life. I know that's easier said than done. If you are the one to fill the emptiness, that's a lot healthier because you're less likely to end up in a codependent dynamic. I know that this lyric is supposed to be metaphorical. I understand that. But just the idea of being so full of love that you are not eating food that is literally necessary for you to be alive and to be nourished properly, that's a red flag. I personally think a true pure love, a balanced love, would manifest in a different way. When you're in like a very healthy dynamic, you want to continue to love yourself as well. So like in relation to food, like in this lyric, I would think about someone wanting to nourish themselves in the best way. You know, I want to make sure I eat nutritious whole foods, keep myself healthy. I feel like love would be manifesting in that sort of decision making, not in the not eating sort of decision making. This to me is like foreshadowing codependency vibes. The love here is being given too much power. I know that a lot of people want to be in love and they're looking for their soulmate, and I think that's wonderful. Love is very beautiful. Finding love, romantic or platonic, is wonderful. It's a very important part of life, but nothing should exist in excess, right? Too much of anything is not healthy. So I think there's unbalance present in this dynamic. I'm sorry if I'm ruining this song for you if you think of it as a love song, but this is just, I can't overlook these vibes. Sorry. There's nothing sweeter than my baby. I'd never want once from the cherry tree. That's a cute lyric. Like, I'm chill with that. I'd never want ones from the cherry tree. The way that this is being said here makes me want to give cherry tree a negative connotation because the sweetness that the protagonist is experiencing is causing him not to go and pick from the cherry tree. So the sweetness is kind of pacifying him or nourishing him in a way where he doesn't need to go somewhere else. And I'm saying he because I'm just like subconsciously thinking about this through the perspective of Hozier, especially because like a male is singing this, but the protagonist could be literally anyone. So I'm inclined to give like a negative connotation to cherry tree. This does remind me of Hozier's song Cherry Wine, which I think I'll be analyzing soon. That song is like, it's very beautiful. It's like a very, very beautiful song, but it's very dark. In my opinion, Cherry Wine is about like physical abuse, which is obviously not positive like at all. I don't know if this lyric is a direct link to that song or like an allusion to that song, but that's definitely something to think about. Because my baby's sweet as can be. She gives me toothaches just from kissing me. Listen, this whole my love is sweet, she's sweet as can be, that's cute, okay? I just think that there's something going on underneath, and I view Hozier as a very intentional songwriter. I do believe this is intentional on his part. On the surface, this is cute, and if this was being expressed in a different way, it would be super cute, right? But this is not cute to me. This is concerning. First of all, toothaches are not good, right? That means that his teeth are being rotted away and he's getting cavities. If a love is pure and healthy, should it give you metaphorical cavities? No, it should make you healthier mentally, spiritually, etc. Every facet of your life should improve when you are in a healthy, loving relationship. There is a mismatch of some sort in this song. This love really seems to have saved this protagonist, which is good. I'm glad that the protagonist has found value in this love, but something is not lining up. There's definitely unbalance present. So that to me is, again, very concerning. Chorus. This chorus is very intense. There's a lot of direct and heavy statements being made. This protagonist is in a very deep love with his romantic partner. He's saying that not even death can keep him from his love. Seems like the protagonist isn't at war with the fact that one day he's gonna die. Gently connotes a feeling of calmness, doing something with care. He is thinking about his death in relation to his love. It's like he doesn't care that he's gonna die, he just cares that dying means that he can't be with his love. His love is very much at the center of his universe, the center of his world. He really values his lover. He's pretty much gonna like bring himself back to life and crawl out of the grave and like go back to her so they can continue to be together. This can be viewed as romantic if you want. It's like a darker way to express the depth of your love, but I do think you can view it in like a romantic way. It's like a declaration of his love for her. But to me personally, I am not partial towards darkness being used to illustrate the depth of love. I view more positive images and metaphors as being reflective of love. I'm definitely bringing my biases into this interpretation, as I do with every interpretation. The word crawl, that diction to me is very intense. When someone is crawling like that, it's because they can't walk. He comes out of the grave. I don't know, is he gonna be a zombie or is he gonna be himself? Is he gonna clean himself off first or is he gonna have dirt all over him? I don't know. How is this gonna work out? When she sees him, is she gonna be freaked out because he's covered in dirt and maybe a zombie? I don't know. I understand this is metaphorical, but I'm just like thinking through this. I personally am not interpreting this as being reflective of like a balanced love. I do view this chorus as having a juxtaposition. Juxtaposition is when things are set side by side for the purpose of comparison. Or gently in the word crawl, when you view someone being laid to rest as like the coffin coming down gently, that's a very calm sort of movement. But then we have the word crawl. I kind of view like a hand coming out of the grave and it's just kind of like pulling the dirt and he is crawling out of it. So these are opposing actions, and if you visualize it, you know, one is going down, one is trying to come up, one has a calm connotation, the word gentle, and the word crawl is not gentle. I do view this chorus as having opposing energies, the first half versus the second half of the chorus. You visualize it, there's movement in opposing directions, then crawling all the way to his love. That's like a long distance, like how many miles away does she live from where he's crawling out of? Like logistically, like what is going on here, Hozier? Verse 2. So it sounds like when this protagonist met their love, he was not doing so great. And I think that's why he values this love so much and why he is all in. When you are so empty in an intense way, or when you're suffering in an intense way, when something positive comes into your life, you will cling to it in a different way, as opposed to someone who wasn't that empty. The word boys indicates to me that the protagonist is retelling this story to his fellow co-workers. Sounds like his love found him when my baby found me. He was not doing so great. He was 3 days on a drunken sin. So he was drunk, he was drinking a lot on a bender of sorts, I presume. He was sinning, you know? There's many different forms of sin, but he was participating in at least one of them. The next line is very interesting. I really enjoy it. It says, I woke with her walls around me. The diction there, the use of the word walls to me is very significant because a wall provides structure and stability, and it can create a shelter. It connotes a feeling of safety. The walls were around him. It's kind of like she like scooped him up and protected him. That's very beautiful. It sounds like she kind of nursed him back to health, perhaps literally because he was drunk, but also again in like an emotional way. The next line to me is very ominous. Nothing in her room but an empty crib. There's different ways to view this. I am thinking that the walls that she built created a shelter. Right now I'm talking about an emotional shelter, so it's more metaphorical. And when he woke up in this shelter, he's in her room and there's an empty crib. The image of an empty crib to me is not positive. Why is it empty? Right? The only reason you would have a crib is because there is a child already, or there is an expectation of a child being there soon. So if it's empty, like what happened to the child? You know what I mean? If there's no child in question, there would be no crib. So that to me is ominous. Another way to view it, if you want to view this as more positive, is that perhaps the crib is for him. Perhaps he is being reborn and he is the baby in question. He is having a metaphorical, emotional sort of rebirth. He is going in the crib because he is now a metaphorical baby. He's being reborn and he's going to wake up as a man and just be like healed in a lot of ways. That's a more positive way to interpret it. But to me, personally, because of the diction earlier about the sweetness and the toothache and also the chorus, I'm already approaching this love as not being super stable. So I'm more inclined to just view it as an ominous sort of image. But again, open to your interpretation. I really want to know what you guys think about this, so please comment it down below. This could be a literal fever. You know, maybe he wasn't doing well. Maybe this was all a fever dream. There's a lot of possibilities. It's interesting that fever is used here because this is reminding me of the burning heat lyric in verse 1. We do have more than one mention of a sort of burning heat, right? We have verse 1 where it could have been the environment, like the weather, but now here it's more of an internal burning heat, and he could be sick. He could have caught a cold, who knows? Or it could be a more figurative sort of fever caused by his internal emptiness. When you are not doing well in an emotional way or in a spiritual way, that can cause you to be sick in like a spiritual or emotional way. And that could be illustrated here as like a metaphorical fever. I'm kind of viewing it as both. I think maybe he literally was sick and he had a fever and she was nursing him back to health. But I do think this could be reflective of a more intangible sort of sickness. He didn't care how much longer he lived, so he was really in a not so great place. I'm gonna assume that when he got to fall in love, that's when he found purpose in his life and found a reason to live. And I think that's why he is so like all in with this love. But I swear I thought I dreamed her. She never asked me once about the wrong I did. I'm thinking about this both literally and metaphorically. I'm kind of accepting both interpretations at the same time. While he was being nursed back to health, literally, I think he was kind of going in and out of consciousness, wondering if he's hallucinating everything, if he's having a fever dream, if this person was really there helping. But then in a more metaphorical sense, this could be referring to them meeting and talking, him realizing that she's not judging him for anything. She is simply accepting him as he is. Like the love is very pure and true. So that could be why the protagonist is saying that he thought he dreamed it. It's like too good to be true for him. And I do want to say that I don't think that the love is toxic. I don't think that his love interest is doing anything wrong. I think she like legit just loves him. However, I think because this protagonist was so empty, he is clinging onto this love like more than he should. And it's not his fault. Again, I'm not like a psychologist, but like it could be like a trauma response, right? You know how sometimes when someone is like so lonely, they cling on to friendships more than they should? Or if someone is insecure about a certain thing, they're kind of triggered or hurt more by specific comments that weren't meant to hurt them. It could be that sort of thing. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. So I'm not blaming the protagonist. I don't think that this love interest is being toxic or anything. I think this song is illustrating a very intense sort of love that is unbalanced. And I think it's unbalanced because the protagonist just was too empty before. But the last line of this verse really does indicate to me that her love was a literal safe space for him. And that is very beautiful. Then we have the chorus repeated 2 times, and then we have the bridge. He is saying that his love is not going to judge him or be upset about the things that he did in his past. The things he did with his hands and his body. I don't know what he did with his hands. Did he like kill people? I don't know. What kind of things would you do with your hands that people would not be chill about? IDK. I am assuming that body is referring to the protagonist being intimate with other people, but I don't know about the hands. What did he do with his hands? If the Lord don't forgive me, I'd still have my baby and my babe would have me. It's kind of like the protagonist is finding salvation not through God, but through this love. And it really does sound like she loves him in a very pure way because she's not judging his past. She is accepting him as who he is right now. I definitely do think that he is trying to look for salvation in this love. Like this love has become kind of like his religion in a way because it is saving him. When I was kissing on my baby and she put her love down soft and sweet. So I think this is referring to when they are being like intimate and physical with one another. The diction here, the words soft and sweet are very positive. The storyline and the diction surrounding his significant other, they're pretty positive in my opinion. She's accepting him for who he is. The words soft and sweet, those are definitely words that I would associate with love. So I don't see any ominous vibes on that end. In the low lamplight, I was free. Lighting here, the low lamplight, it's like dim lighting. I talk about light imagery very often. Light is usually very positive, can metaphorically be representative of truths being revealed, things being uncovered for you. There is light present, but it's dim lighting, so it's not as positive. It's more of a moody sort of light. So I do find that really interesting when you visualize it and when you view the light through a metaphorical lens. But it does sound like he's having a sort of epiphany in the low lamplight. So it does seem like truths are being revealed to him, but perhaps it's not like this sort of epiphany where you're like, OMG. It's like a more stable and calm sort of epiphany. He says, in the low lamplight, I was free. Heaven and hell were words to me. So it sounds like he came to a conclusion in this low lamplight, made the decision for himself that no matter what happens in this life or the afterlife, no matter if he's accepted by the Lord or, by the church, I guess, he's not going to care. In that moment, he had made the decision and had come to the understanding of his truth, which is that this love is what saved him. So this love is the most important thing to him. That's why he was going to crawl out of his grave and go back. Right? So heaven and hell were no longer a location or a possibility to the protagonist. I'm assuming the protagonist was much more religious prior to finding his love, but now those are just words. I'm not saying he doesn't believe in heaven and hell, but maybe he just doesn't care anymore. He doesn't care about, reaching salvation through the Lord because he reached salvation. He was saved through this love instead. So this love is now what he worships in a way. The fact that heaven and hell are just words to him now, I think this depends on whoever is listening to the song, how they want to interpret it. Some people may view that as not being good because he is worshiping a false god of sorts. False God is a song by Taylor Swift that I need to analyze eventually on this channel. In that song, she talks about worshiping their love. So it could be like a false God, false idol situation. You can interpret it through that. Or you can view it in a more positive sense that he is creating his own truth and existing where he is accepted and where he feels safe. So it could go either way. And I would, again, love to know your thoughts in the comments below. That was actually the last unique verse. In conclusion, I think there's a lot of layers to this song. There's a more positive way to interpret it. There's a more negative way to interpret it. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I think the positive aspects are that the protagonist was accepted and loved for who he was. He wasn't judged. He found his own sort of salvation. However, like I mentioned, the diction in this song, the words associated with the love, to me are not super positive. I do think that they are indicative of an unbalanced sort of love, the religious undertones at the end. It just depends on how you want to interpret it. Again, I'm kind of viewing it as somewhere in the middle. I don't think this is like a love song, but I do think this is like a song about a specific type of love. This is reminding me of 500 Days of Summer in the trailer where it was like, this isn't a love story, it is a story about love. I realized that I referenced the movie 500 Days of Summer so much on this channel, but I don't even watch it that often. It's not even like my favorite movie. My favorite movie is like the Lizzie McGuire movie, so I should talk about that more. That's all I have for this song. Please make sure to like this video if you enjoy it and to subscribe if you haven't already. If you want. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Feel free to comment down below which songs I should analyze next, and I will see you next time. Bye!